This is James Lupton for Slothbox, sponsored by the Excelsior Sporting Club. And today I'm joined by Boris the Blade Crighton. Boris, how are you, mate?
Good, man. I'm good. Chilling.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Just back from the gym. How's camp been?
It's been brilliant, man. Everything's gone to plan. It's been fantastic. So no complaints here. No complaints here so far.
Nearly fight week approaching. Fight night coming around very, very soon. Callum Simpson, undefeated fighter. Not the first undefeated fighter you fought. You fought
Mhm.
a few of them, and you've beaten three undefeated fighters so far in your pro career. Just talk to me a little bit about
Four. I fought four.
you fought four. I think you lost one.
Yeah, four
You,
and yeah,
you beat three of them. Um,
with three.
First of
About to
all,
make it four.
absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about Callum Simpson. Do you know much about him?
Not really. Not really. Watched a little bit of him, to be honest, but I've not watched much of him. I've let Craig handle the most of the watching, and he relays that back to me, and we take it from there.
I get the impression from yourself. We spent some time together out in Poland at your last fight, and I get the impression that you're very much a guy who's, I've got gloves, will travel, will fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. Don't really care too much about all the logistics of it. You're just happy to get in there and fight anybody.
Mate, the thing is, it's with what's happened with boxing and what's happened with sports. When lockdown came around, we were all sat at home from which was 90% of the boxing community, right? We didn't all get to fight. We didn't get to fight in Eddie Hearn's back garden, right? So most of us were sat at home, twiddling our thumbs, wishing we were in the position that I am right now. And there's still boxers out there sat at home, wishing they're in the position I am right now. It's not even a matter of fact of like I'll fight anyone anyway. It's like this is what I was sat at home for the last 2 years, wishing I had. So why is that when the time comes, I would shy away from it? That makes no sense to me. Do you know what I mean? So like it was a case of it only makes sense. Like I fought within the last 3 years from 2019, which was my last fight, till 2020 to 2022. Yeah, right.
November 21, November
Yeah,
21.
yeah. I think no, like to 2022. I think I had four fights within 3 years. So from 2020, 2021, 2022, which is my last fight was against Matt McCallum in
Mhm.
December. I had four fights in 3 years, and it wasn't because of choice. It was because I didn't have the opportunities, and I wish I had the opportunities. I wish I was there fighting. I was in the gym. I was out the gym. I was mad at the world. I was mad at boxing, and I was mad at myself. And it's like I had this interview and that's why I've ventured into the CrossFit space to keep my head centered, right? To keep my head to being competitive, to being an athlete, to train and still have discipline. And now that the time has come, it's time to capitalize on that. It's time to capitalize on the work that I've put on in the last 3 years. It's like I've had almost the same amount of fights within the last 6 months that I had in the space of 3 years. Do you know what I mean? And like I was a when lockdown hit, I was basically the prime of my boxing career. I that's my first year and a half of being a pro, and just like that went into lockdown, and it's like 2 years were taken away from me. I'm at my prime as an athlete, and it's like the time is closing down, and I don't have the luxury of. I'm not 25 anymore. I'm not 26 when I turn pro. Do you understand? So it's like I'm closing out 30 at the end of July. So it's like, first of all, I've been waiting for the opportunities to come for the last 2 years, 3 years. I've been twiddling my thumbs, begging to be at this level. And it came knocking at my door. I didn't have to go look for it this time. It came knocking at my door, and it's like, well, let's go. It only makes sense, and it's like the anywhere, anytime thing is it's just any athlete. I think any athlete should have that mentality, and anyone that doesn't, I said if with the whole Zach Chili thing, it was funny because he said that, and I called him out for saying anywhere, anytime, while he'd had a 10 week training camp, and he was like, "Well, it's all well and good to say 10 week anyway when you've had a 10 week training camp, but it's like then he got a replacement, which is I think Mark Sunning, I can't remember that's his last name,
Biffers.
and like yeah, and it's like he jumped onto opportunity because it's like I said, is we've all been waiting for this. And I said, any boxer, any fighter, any athlete, when you put in that position, if you turn it down, then what are you in the sport for? What is it that you honestly, what is it that you're in it for? You want them to phone you and tell you every single time that, well, you've got an 8 week training camp, get ready and we'll pay you X amount of money. It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, boxing doesn't work like that. There's no league, there's no off season, there's no that. It's just be ready. And if your time comes, step on. We don't all get to be signed by a boxer off the bat from our amateur careers. You don't all get to be signed by Eddie Hearn off the back of our amateur careers. The very select few people that get that off the bat, and the rest of us have to fight for the rest of the spaces that are available. And it's like, if you don't know that and you don't understand that that's part of the game, then you're in a losing. You're already losing off the bat.
Absolutely. Mention it as an athlete's mindset, it's how it should be for any athlete. But did COVID change your mindset at all in any way?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think like it made the realization that it takes more than just talent. That's what I'm saying. It takes more than just talent to be at this stage. And also when COVID hit, I myself had really dealt at that point. I'd had my first professional loss. So my O was taken in, which was something that I think a lot of fighters hold valuable. And when the O was gone, like that, my mindset had to change. I had to dig myself out of that hole of like, holy shit, I've lost. And because I just know, when I went into that fight, there's no way I saw myself losing. Right. So like that took me a little while, and it was almost like oh, if I've lost now, my career's over. Like what am I in boxing for? You know, the kind of thing. But it's like it wasn't the case. I had to overcome that, understand that like boxing is not losing is in the end of who you are as a fighter, right? And it's about you're only as good as your last fight. So it's like having to pull myself out of that, and then lockdown hits, and it's like had me then took the time to slow things down, and gave me the chance to think in my head of like, if I genuinely, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, go back. If I genuinely, I think my battery is low. God damn it. If I genuinely want to make something of the sport, then I have to change my mentality completely from when I entered the sport. Right. So like I have to, my approach to it has to be different. My training style has to be different. Like I said, I can't just be like for a 6 week training camp to get ready. Because if I kept doing that, I would still be at small hall shows. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the fact that I was able to keep some level of baseline training allowed me to be in a position where I could jump into a fight with 36 hours notice. But if I was just sat at home like, oh, Ian, I'm not gonna do nothing until you tell me when I'm next fighting, then I'll be at a stage where I'll still, like I said, I'll still be doing small hall shows. You know?
You mentioned about your first loss, and for any fighter, having that first loss must be shit. That feeling that every fighter feels they're almost invincible until they lose that first one.
Yeah.
Do you feel getting that off your back and, like you say, having that time through COVID to reflect on that and realize it's not the end of the world? And looking now where you are, you've been on the biggest platforms you've been on since your first loss, etc. You have lost a
Yeah.
couple more since then, but do the losses affect you as much as they did?
I think I needed some time to get over, and I think when I came off the McCallum fight, that's when I was like, and that was the demons were there. Just said like the demons were in that fight because it was like, oh shit. Again, it's in December. I think the time was like exactly 3 years apart, almost. You know, that kind of way. Like it was creeping up to like that December time when I had the fight. I think it was creeping them around that very similar time as well. It was another undefeated fighter that I was fighting. And I was fighting away from home. So those demons came all flooding back. And when I overcame that and I went there and got the win in great fashion, that boosted my confidence massively. And then now going into, which allowed me to take the Linden fight and going and performing at that level with 36 hours notice. You got to understand, like, I had to make weight, travel down to Bolton and get weighed in the same day to then fight the next day. I had to take like 3 kgs off. The same day I needed to be weighed in and fight, and did a good solid 10 rounds. Like regardless of whatever happened prior to that in my career, that's gone. It's over. It's over. There's no doubts now. There's no doubts now. Like, because then why would I take another fight with Steed as again another top highly rated fighter? He wasn't undefeated, but top fighter. Just what I mean, like, so those demons have been dealt with.
You mentioned there Steed Woodall, your last fight out in Poland. Um, Straight after the fight, you wasn't pleased with the result. You wasn't pleased that he got his hand raised and not yourself. I'm sure you've had time now to reflect and look back some tape, potentially watch the fight back. Do you still feel aggrieved at the result?
I actually haven't watched the tape. I haven't watched it back. Funny enough, I haven't even watched the Linden fight back.
Okay.
Like the things I'll take some time. Like when things have been so hectic, I was like, I'll forget. I'll leave all of that, and when things slow down, after this fight, then I'll really have the moment to sit down and reflect on everything. But right now, it's been put that to the side and go. I didn't have. I took some time when I went on holiday just to because there was a hectic month of 3 fights to take my head away from boxing. And when I came back home, I was like, put all that stuff to the side, put it behind me. Don't dwell. There's no point in dwelling on this right now because then might consume me for a lot longer than I needed to. So I was like, put it to the side. It is what it is. There's no change in it. Doesn't, I had the time to be angry when I was angry and it's past. Doesn't matter if I watch the tapes back and think I did win. It doesn't matter if I watch the tape back and think I didn't win. It changes nothing. It's just like the loss is still the loss. So why dwell on it? Put it to the side and deal with what's upcoming. Get back into training, get fit, get sharp, and win the next fight. When I go and win this fight, it won't matter if Steve beat me. It won't matter what happened with Linden. That won't matter. I would have just beat the guy in the top 10. That's what's going to matter. So why concentrate on what just happened there? Because it's irrelevant. Now I've had a chance to train. Now I've had the chance to spar. Now I've had a chance to really get fit. That's what matters. This is what matters now. The fact that, how it happened in Poland happened is irrelevant.
Just want to touch on just finally, in regards to the Linden fight, obviously it was a loss, but your stock rose from that. And you've been on big platforms now with Boxer and Sky Sports, back-to-back fights now, obviously coming up with your next one. Do you feel you would have got these opportunities on the big stage without your performance against Linden?
No, absolutely not. If I went in there and Linden stopped me in 2 rounds, that would have been it. I'd have just that Boris. I would have been back to small hall shows and kept going. I think like my talent spoke for itself and that stage, and my heart spoke for itself. And like I said, to do what I did is no small feat. Like as a fighter, and I think like I don't think I was the first fighter to be offered that fight. Do you understand? So like, times they would have offered a few more people before they got to me. And even when I spoke to some people after that were around Linden's camp, they were like, we didn't think that they should have taken that fight with you. And they saw why. And so I think their team knew as well. So I think I would literally was last choice. And not only because I was the only person that accepted it, also because that was the only option that they had. It's like I was literally their last option. Because first of all, even if they had other people, I think if they had other people that were on the table, they would have gone with someone else. Because I've been in that spot with Linden and have a relatively decent relationship to them with them. So it's not like I'm just some guy that they've never seen before and they're taking the fight. I've been in their spot 2-3 times with Linden. You know what I mean? So like I said, it was an opportunity that was put in front of me, and because my mentality from lockdown had changed and my win off Matt McCallum had took away some of those demons that I had, like I was there. It's like I knew for myself that if I went in there and gave a good representation of my dad, and I think I exceeded not just my expectation of myself, I think a lot of people's expectation for myself, including the people within my team, expectation of what I could do. So their belief in me now, in comparison, they believed in me before, but their belief as well in me, that means that our weight training camp is going as well. It's a complete different aspect as to what it was before the Linden fight, even with the Matt McCown fight. So I think they had their own demons to deal with in terms of like my coach going, all right, what can I do to change to make this fighter better and to improve him? And it's like when he saw that, his approach to how we train and how we approach our training also changed. Yeah.
So the reason I bring that point up there about the Linden loss is because I think a lot of people can look at that fight and take inspiration from that, because a loss isn't always the end of the world, because of the opportunities you have got, because your stock had risen from that, and the performance you put in was, as you mentioned, exceeded almost everyone's expectations. Do you feel from that, especially going forward in your career, even if you do lose again, it's not the end of the world. You can still continue.
I mean, absolutely. I think that's why when the loss with Steed, when that happened, obviously no one wants to lose. So it's not a matter of fact of like, oh, if I lose, it won't matter. No, if it does matter, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, because to me, physically, to me, it does matter. Like, it does, regardless of like I said, if my stock rose or not, it does matter. Like, it's because I go into every fight with the intention to win. So, but yeah, at the same time, like I can walk away and know that I gave the best account of myself, and I can be a true representation of if you truly go in there, give it all your best, you will walk away. You won't be happy, but I show you that that loss wouldn't hurt the same way it would if you went in there and didn't try at all and then give what you had. So when I walked away from the Linden one, of course, yes, that hurt. But again, I was like, I did something that was completely unexpected. I superseded myself and my team. And even within this time space in which I had to fight Steed was also a very short period of time. And you got to realize, even from when I fought Steed, I still hadn't had a training camp. I think I sparred twice. I sparred twice between Linden Alder fight and Steed fight. Had two sparring sessions. So basically, the other fight in between that, which that would also counts as like my training for Steed. So like, I never had the opportunity to fight him, and I still think I still went in there. And because I still went in there, I gave him what I believe was my best, not my best, but I still went in there and did enough that I believe with that what I had was enough. You understand? I never had a training camp. I had come off the back of two fights. One of them was a really tough fight. Do you know what I mean? I still fought 6 rounds the week before. Just, I mean, I'd fought 6 rounds the week before. I'd had to make weight for the 3rd time in the month. I'd had to travel to a whole different country. Just, I mean, like, there was a little bit of mental fatigue there, where the same vicious Boris didn't show up the way he showed up in Linden. But again, it was just because of that sort of mental fatigue of there's been a lot that I had to process, and I had to be someone that I'd never had to be before. So that took a little bit out of me. And this is why when we got we got the offer, I think after the Steed fight, it was like Tuesday. Ian got a phone call and they offered us the Callum Simpson fight on the Tuesday, right? And I turned it down. I was like, nah. They offered us for the 10th of June. They offered it 10th of June, and I said, nah, I'm not. You're not gonna make a journeyman out of me. Like, you understand me? Like, if I'm gonna fight again, I need to be in a position where I feel comfortable that I am taking my career into my hands, right? And not just jumping on an opportunity, because I've done that. I've gone in there in the last 3 fights and proved myself. Like I said, I've proved that anywhere, anytime. I've done that. It's over. Right? Forget that. That's not something that's part of my career anymore. Anywhere, anytime. Forget that. Do you know what I mean? Because I have done that. I have proved that, and I've done it in my career. So at this point in time, I deserve to say, give me the time to train. And so we turned it down. I went on holiday. We came back. They gave us a proposal, and through that, everything has worked out. And we accepted it on the terms that we felt comfortable with, and we were able to make the fight happen. You know?
With a camp behind you, we're going to get the vicious Boris back again.
Absolutely. I don't. This like I said, like between in my last 4 fights, which is like by the time I fight Callum Simpson, which was my 5th fight. In my last 4 fights, I have fought 2 undefeated fighters and 2 fighters that are highly ranked, 2 highly ranked fighters. Just so I mean, like, my confidence level is different, regardless of the loss. My confidence level is at a different stage. Like, you have to look at my record and also look at the people that I've fought and be like, this guy's fought some good guys. Like, I've not tiptoed my way to the position that I am right now. I've not padded my record. My record hasn't been padded with journeymen. The guys are coming in with more losses than they have wins, or a guy that's won 5 fights but lost 3, and it's like, okay, you have a winning record, but it's also a padded with. You've also got a padded winning record, so it doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I mean? So like, I've fought guys with a good record that's like 15 fights, one loss. Do you understand? You know, guys have lost off the back of Linden that lost Anthony Yard, a world level fighter. Do you understand what I mean? So like, if I'm getting handed my loss, if I'm taking a loss, if I have to take a loss, I'm taking a loss of the guys of this caliber. Then I've learned. And again, yeah, I could argue for both fights. I don't feel like I lost both fights. Just, I mean, I can make an argument for both. So for me personally, how I feel about that is I've got at this point I've proven it all. I've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. There's no pressure on my shoulders. I should go in there and do what Boris does best. Like I said, go in there and perform. That's all I do, and that's all I need to do, and that's what I will do.
Absolutely. The last question for you, Boris, away from yourself. A big fight announced recently up in Scotland. Battle Clash of the Legends. Ricky Burns and Willie Limond was announced. They'll be facing each other from Ian Wilson and the team at St Andrews. Just talk to me a little bit about that fight. How do you see that one going, and how big is that for Scotland?
You know, it's exciting. I'm excited the fact that Ian's the one hosting it, so my man is the one hosting it, so that St Andrews is the one backing out, which is exciting. I think like we've seen a lot more of this where you've seen older fighters come out or retirement and put on a show, and these are two guys that I've got a little bit left in them, I think, and a little bit and enough left in them to give us a fantastic show of what is just good classic boxing. Do you know what I mean? Where you're going to see speed, you're going to see timing, you're going to see power, and you're going to see people that are going again that actually generally fight. And I think like it's good for the younger fighters to see that level of experience in their own backyard. So I think it's a fantastic space that allows the younger fighters, especially within the St Andrews team, to showcase their abilities in front of a big crowd. Like I said, Ian's when at St Andrews is infamously known for his dinner shows, and as brilliant as they are, the black tie event, boxing, the real boxing culture is within these big hall shows where everyone from everywhere is there. And it's not just you have to pay £120 for a ticket and sit at a table and eat a 3-course meal. It's this is what boxing is about. It's anyone from anywhere can walk in through the door, buy a ticket, and experience what boxing is really all about. So it's fantastic to see that these guys have done that, because it creates a fantastic opportunity for the young fighters, because you have, apart from them now putting on a decent show, you have Josh Taylor and Lee McGregor, and Taylor hasn't fought in Scotland for a little while as well himself. And even when he does, there's very few fighters in Scotland that get an opportunity on these shows. Do you know what I mean? Like you get a lot of English fighters fighting on the show. So it's good to see a big name like Ricky Burns and Willie fighting each other, and then also seeing an all Scottish undercard. I think that's what I'm the most looking forward to, is just an all Scottish card with some really good young prospects coming through, and some older guys are giving us a chance to watch them do the last hurrah. And what I can only imagine is going to be a fantastic fight.
No, absolutely, I agree. Well, Boris, thank you very much for your time today.